least Mbuyiseni gave you something to listen to. If you want to learn something, he calls people there of stature who think, who talk sense.
Afriforum's finances and how they spent hundreds of million rands in campaigns. The key of those campaigns recently has been to portray South Africa as engaged in the slaughter of white people, which has resulted in this American response to us. And Afriforum has spent millions, hundreds of millions of rands invested in the destruction of the image of South Africa. Does the Nelson Mandela Foundation, for instance, can you match these budgets?
No, we can't. I mean, they're withdrawn the minute you mention Palestine. We lost a lot of funding. And I warned the foundation not to have me as chair because I expected the reaction that we have had. UCT passed a resolution on Gaza supporting that Zionists were acting in an apartheid fashion and intent on genocide. They lost over 250 million rands in donor funding in a very short space of time. So you're dealing with very powerful forces, and we shouldn't neglect the danger that confronts us. You know, the fact that a university that intends to be Afrikaans medium is being built and is receiving hundreds of millions of rands.
Oh, billions.
Is just something, you know, and the only person who comments, Jonathan Jansen. The rest of us were quiet. We too complacent with our freedom. And it's a huge undertaking because what we are battling is centuries of racism and colonialism. And people who've had control don't let go easily. You know, so what they do, they find other ways. So they'll get, entrepreneurs who become their tools, who work against you, but you think they're working for what you aspire toward. So we also need to have regard that we're not just in a democratic South Africa. We are in a process of building a fundamentally different and durable progressive democracy. And if we understand that, then Afriforum won't have currency. But because we have no answer, we're too casual. You know, we just take things for granted. And I am afraid sometimes at the lackadaisical response that we have to conservative liberalism. And I really think we need to have a conversation about building organizations which are political, but which understand history, and which, when they develop a response, understand that it needs to be strategic. It can't just be ordinary, because we're not just in an ordinary world. We're in very difficult and dangerous circumstances. And we have a lot that makes us a desirable object. So this and the ability to act decisively and strategically are absolutely necessary. And I'm not sure, with the crop of leaders we've got at the moment, that we understand these things.
Yes, crop of leaders.
We must come back to this racist. They need to be charged with serious charges of engaging in activities that undermine the sovereignty of the South African state. South Africa as a state must never be compromised by racist interest of a tiny minority, which we must deal with decisively. We must go back and deal with this racist and put them at their own place. These are terrorists and they need to be dealt with as such. They are terrorists. They want to harm this country. They want to destabilize the economy of this country, and we need to decisively deal with them as a state.